Hey everyone, welcome to a new series. We'll get to that in a minute, but first I wanted to announce the winner for the manga giveaway for the first 2 volumes of Dungeon Meshi. I announced it in the manga box set unboxing, so I got around 5 entrants, and ultimately I did a wheel spin to see who won, and it ended up being Sealy 3. So congratulations. I'll reach out and we'll figure out how to get that to you. So on to the video. All right, so this is a new series where my girlfriend and I, we go to the library every week or 2 weeks and pick up manga that we think will be interesting or we just want to read. We thought about doing a series where we just like talk about our thoughts on the different books that we get. And I mean, this week we only have 4, but some weeks we get 12, some weeks we get nothing. So it'll really just depend on when we go for like when we upload a video. So basically this week we have 4. So what's really nice about just like a local library in general is memberships are basically free most of the time, and usually they'll have an app or a website where you can go on and create an account where you can like put books on hold, see if your library has like specific books. What's nice about our library is that you can like put books on hold, and if our library doesn't have it, they'll ship it from just like around the state to our library. And then there's also a separate app called Libby where you sign in using like a library membership, in which case you can just like rent online books and read them online.
And you'd be surprised how much of a manga collection your local library could have. Like when we first moved here, we weren't expecting as much as they do have. So it's been really great, especially if you've seen a series at the bookstore, but you're unsure if you actually want to commit to buying it, then you could see at the library and then see if you really like it. So what's the reason why we decided to start this series? Because obviously we're not starting with volume 1, but we wanted to talk a little bit about why we even decided to pick up this series and why we were interested.
Yeah, I was interested because I like death games. I think they're interesting. And just like, I know I've watched the first season of the live action, so I thought, I mean, that was like a huge thing for me to getting into like the manga series. Because I like the first season. I haven't watched the second, but it just got me interested in the manga, so yeah.
That's kind of where I was at too. I've only seen like clips here and there of the live action, but I haven't actually sat down and watched the whole show. But I've just heard from a lot of people praising the series a lot, and then we both like series like Kaiji, and then the second season of Squid Game just came out, so we've been really wanting something with this plot. And then also, well, I know another reason why you like this. You like anything where the spines line up and it creates one big picture.
Yeah, so this creates like a big city skyline picture, which is like, you know, sick. For a lot of these library books, I'll most likely collect them at some point, but just to be able to read them now, it's nice. But
and you know what I just noticed? Just looking at this cover, it's kind of like funny that I should have noticed this earlier, but this is a playing card.
the cover?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I didn't know. I obviously noticed that this person was
Right.
upside down,
Right.
but it's like I didn't notice
The
symbol.
4.
Yeah,
dude, this is literally Balatro. You can play Balatro with like the covers.
Yeah, the symbols here. I didn't notice that, but I love
Right.
the color scheme that they use. I mean, the covers look really cool.
Yeah.
So then we'll do, oh, by the way, I'm sorry if you wanted a spoiler-free synopsis or spoiler-free commentary, but we will be going through certain panels.
Spoiler alerts for every volume that we go through. I'll put like chapters at the bottom of the video for each volume if you want to like skip ahead to like a different manga volume. I'll just put that down there so you can like move on to the next one if you don't want spoilers. But
I just feel like you can talk about the book. I mean, obviously, if you're if you're like wanting to delve deep into certain scenes, and we'll be like sharing our favorite panels and stuff like that. So that's kind of hard to do, spoiler free.
right. So we can go into the synopsis of this volume. So they were actually in the middle of a game in the beginning of the volume, which was the witch hunt, for everyone who knows what that is. So basically, the witch hunt ended. They found out that the character had actually like killed herself, and she was basically the witch, which caused extreme mayhem.
And she's also a dealer, her and her friend.
We also learned about dealers in this volume, which was kind of crazy. So, and they're also players, basically.
Yeah,
They
that's
have
interesting.
to deal to live. That was kind of insane. So that happened, and then the side story. Do you want to talk about the side story?
Sure. So I do love the side stories in these volumes. You get to see some extra games, and I think it's a cool way to introduce. It's a cool way to introduce new characters that you don't necessarily want to spend too much time with, but you want to tell an interesting story. So let me flip. This was the side story with tatted up man.
Bald man.
So they're playing the game where they have to run through the tunnel while there's various, oh there he is, Kaito. While there's various animals chasing them, the weather gets really cold, and then there's a huge explosion, but they don't realize that they could have stayed in a bus the whole time. And then at the very end of the side story, it shows this guy who you later learn that he's the king of spades, and he's actually one of the people who are controlling this game in Borderland. This man right here,
I actually forgot about
Kuzuryu,
that.
the supervisor. So that's the side story. And then the rest of, do you want to talk about the rest of it?
The rest of it was basically just like a memorial service for everyone that had like died in the previous witch hunt game. That and the introduction to the next arc of the series. So there was this interval between games, and so the players had collected all the cards, or all the number cards, and then we get introduced to the face card people, or the kings, the queens, and the jacks. So now they have to just fight these people, which is kind of like interesting because like for the king of spades, his battlefield is literally everywhere. So they're just like running for their lives, and they have to like beat these games as well.
And then there's a plot twist at the very end. We don't know what game they're gonna play yet, but there's a plot twist with this character who was at the beach, which is kind of like, who was an antagonistic character. He almost dies in that huge scuffle they have at the beach, and he gets burned by a flamethrower, but he miraculously survives, and I'm sure there's gonna be some grudges that he's holding.
Yeah, for sure.
So that'll be interesting. So what kind of game was it? Was it a diamond or? It's a spade,
one?
right? Or club?
Clubs.
They go to a clubs.
Yeah.
King of Clubs
King
game.
of Clubs game.
Clubs was a combination, right?
I think so.
So then that's interesting. You might need some teamwork.
Yeah.
So that was the synopsis, and then I guess we'll talk about I guess just our thoughts on the series in general, since this is our first time talking about this series. And then we'll also share some of our favorite panels from this particular volume, and then some predictions for future volumes.
I mean, I'm loving the series so far. I feel like it does a really good job of like keeping the mystery a mystery. It's also fun just seeing the games and having them solve them. And then also just like thinking about during the games, like what I think will happen and like coming up with my own predictions. And I just like the characters too. I think, especially with the main character, I feel like he's had a lot of like character development. I feel like he still has some more to like be done on himself, but yeah.
That was interesting because in the beginning, like you said, he's a lot different. In the beginning, he's more like, I hate this world. You could tell he's been dealing with a lot of stuff with his family, so it was probably a front that he put up to try to protect his own feelings. But in the beginning, I wasn't sure how much I would come to like this character because he was so jaded. Not that I dislike jaded characters, but it's hard. It's hard to get behind a character who's not driving themselves towards a certain goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But now he's changed a lot, and that's been interesting to see. Yeah, so we marked in this volume what our favorite scenes / panels were, and I guess I could start. So I have a favorite and then I have an honorable mention. So this kind of goes back to what we were just talking about with Arisu's character development. So there was some definite romantic tension between these two. They wouldn't have made it this far if they weren't cooperating. But I really like this scene where it's kind of turning into like this sweet moment, and then Arisu tells, what's her name, Yuzuriha? I think Usagi.
Usagi.
Yeah.
Usagi Yuichi.
He tells Usagi, like, let's try to get through these games together, and then when we go back to the real world, I'll protect you. I want you to stay by my side. But she can't accept that. And I thought that was really interesting that we're not jumping straight into this romance. There's obviously, even if they do clear these games and go back to their own lives, there's still her trauma with her dad that she has to work out. They're obviously both still in school. What are their lives gonna look like after this? And then I like the scene of him realizing that even though he has changed a lot going through these games, that those feelings of inadequacy and wanting to be loved and being upset about how he's always being compared to his brother and he wishes his life was going in a different direction, that those feelings are still there even in this new Borderland. So I really liked that. And then you can share yours, then I'll quickly just share the other panel that I liked too.
I liked this panel because
Amazing.
Well, one, I just think it looks sick. I like when scenes are intensely drawn with like the line art that you kind of see here, and like you use lines for like intensity. I just really like how people use that to show intensity. I feel like they do that a ton in like Berserk and stuff. So it's just cool. And then I also just like how much like emotion he's showing. Obviously he's gone through like a lot while he's been here, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like he's just hitting like this point where it's like, okay, enough of this like bullshit. It's like, think about like everyone who's still alive, even though like there's people that's dead and have died. It's like, why are you just like going on a rampage and like killing everyone? Even like, okay, like you're best friend like died. Okay, sure, whatever. That doesn't mean he can go on like a killing spree.
No, right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I just like that.
It's interesting. I mean, this is again going back to like what we were talking about with the character development, but he has so much more hope now in this Borderland. Like in the past, back in the real world, he basically was discounting all humans and talking about how like humanity is bleak, the world is crumbling. But now it's like, now that he's like actually face to face with death, it's actually showing him that there is this like glimmer of hope in humanity, that there is a reason to live even if the world is cruel. So it's interesting that it took him this to like send him on a path of hopefulness.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But now he's kind of back to the rage, but he has a goal.
He has a goal.
And then I guess so I'll share my honorable mention. So this is after the beach arc concludes, and they find this new group of people who they met from the beach, and they decided to hold a memorial service for all the people who died in the last game. And then, yeah, this kind of goes back to what we were just discussing too about humanity and what makes someone human, you know, even if you're in this Borderland, you still want to preserve the traditions that remind you that you're human, like having this memorial service for the people that died. Just because there's so many people dying in these games doesn't mean you stop suddenly feeling bad about that. And I liked how they don't just try to, they are moving forward, but they're not like sweeping things under the rug and pretending like this massacre just didn't happen. So I thought that was nice, because I think the hard thing about writing a story like this and making sure the tone doesn't get too wacky, because obviously a lot of people are gonna die and you're reading it for the enjoyment of seeing these games. So it's like, it's kind of hard to strike that balance.
Yeah, it is.
And so I appreciated that. And I'm excited for chapter 5. So do you want to talk about either some predictions you have, or like where you hope they're going to take this next story?
Predictions for this, I feel like they'll just kind of like complete this game. I feel like they will get some information from this guy. I think maybe 1 or 2 of these people are going to die though in the game.
Oh, for sure.
So
who do you think these people are? Like this group of people? Because I thought maybe it was some sort of supernatural element, but
like teaching people a lesson type thing, or they're just fucking crazy.
Right. That's really all it could be, right?
Yeah. How they did all this, I have no idea. Like,
I know. I'm curious too whether they're gonna explain how they transported everyone, or they're gonna just keep that as like, we have to suspend belief because it's like, that's a supernatural aspect of the plot.
Right, because this is the only that guy that was hiking was like, oh, there's nothing outside of like the city. There's nothing. Yeah. Except for the city.
It's just the one city, right? Not the whole nation. So then,
if you're living in the city, you're like, fuck, like just move somewhere else.
Well, it's also, I have like a question about all these people have these interesting backstories, and it seems like they were struggling with the will to live. So did you somehow pluck only the people from the population that had lost hope in humanity? There's no one in this Borderland who was really loving life.
They could like sense your rejection of society and stuff somehow. I don't know.
And somehow you had to be outside during the fireworks.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure, I kind of hope they keep that as a supernatural element, because I actually I like some answers, and it'd be nice to know, you know, why they started these games, obviously, but I don't need to know like the nitty gritty, like how they transported everyone. Just keep that a
Some alien
metaphor falling
technology.
down the hole.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But overall, really good and more than I expected. We've also been really liking, we haven't read Zom 100, but we watched the first season, and that's the same writer as Alice in Borderland. So similar themes throughout, and I'm really excited to keep reading. Almost halfway done with this volume, with this series. So
Yeah.
recommendations, really quick.
Recommendations.
So I guess for each series, if you were interested in reading the series or were thinking about it, we were just gonna say if you liked X, Y, and Z show or book, then you would like this series. So did you want to say what it was for Alice in Borderland?
Yeah, so any type of survival game series, any mystery. I think we had mentioned like Squid Games was a big one. Kaiji.
It's not as much gambling, but it's still, they're playing games.
Right.
But definitely mystery, because it's not just the mystery with who's behind the games, but each game has its own little plot twist.
Yeah.
And then it's fun trying to figure that out.
Yeah. No, it's a great series so far.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. And then I will not be speaking. I read about 5 or 6 volumes of Fist of the North Star, and I thought it was really good, but I haven't been reading these later volumes. So.
Yeah, so Fist of the North Star, just a very action-y story. I think they had gotten through, Ken killed his oldest brother already. So it's kind of like a time skip. After the time skip, there's like a rebellion against like a city who's holding this one person hostage, Rui. You learn later that she's Rin's sister, like twin sister, but she's blind. So Falco, there's a new character, Falco. He's kind of like crazy. He gets introduced as like a bad guy, but then later he's like trying to save Rui, you learn. But Ken and Falco inevitably fight, and kind of like basically this whole volume is them fighting, trying to just like kill each other, and it's pretty sick. I just like the cool fights. There's nothing really deep about it, honestly, but it's like really cool. A lot of cool panels. I think my favorite panel was this one where Ein is dying, and I think you learned here. Was it here? Ein was like, he's always asking guys if they have like someone to fight for, if they have like a woman to fight for, and if they say no, he like tries to kill them or something, because then he doesn't care. But then here, you learn that the woman that he was fighting for was actually his daughter, so it was like really sweet. So yeah, they end up splitting the heavens in this volume, which is kind of crazy, because the Hokuto Shokan, I think, that Ken has is fighting against Falco's technique. I don't remember what the technique is called. There's like a lot of different...
It's like a million
Yeah, there's like a million different techniques that they use. So, it was just like really cool fight scenes, basically. It was cool to see Bat and Rin just like all grown up and stuff. So, I didn't have like too much to say about this volume. It's just like not that deep. And I guess if some things that are similar to this that you'd like are JoJo's. Obviously, JoJo's a big, it's like really popular, so I feel like many people have heard of it. Or just like 80s action movies, Mad Max, Honestly, like any Bruce Lee or fighting movie,
Martial arts,
would be good.
There's just something nice about reading a classic and you see how this book has influenced so many other series to come. And it's just really nice seeing that this was the starting point of all this.
This influenced so many different
So
things.
much.
Sorry about that. I think the video cut off. The camera said it was overheating, so it just shut off. So we pretty much finished what we were saying about Fist of the North Star, so we're just going to move on. So the next manga that we're going to talk about is, okay, so it's like actually kind of sick, like in a bad way. It's like one of the grittiest manga of all time. It's Skip and Loafer. Like, this is like, it's disgusting. Grittiest manga. Honestly, don't even read this.
Oh my gosh. So, I guess why were we interested in this?
This one, I was interested just because I've heard like really good things about it. I know the anime did really well. I heard really good things about the anime, and so I like shoujos a lot, but I've heard really good things about this one in particular. So basically just those two reasons, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same with me. We haven't seen the anime, but we'll be excited to maybe watch some clips or watch through the show after we get through, I think, the 10 volumes that are out now.
Yeah, 10 or 11, I think. 10? Yeah. So in this volume, volume 4, it's gotten a little deep into some of the friendships and stuff like that. So this volume was basically a school festival arc. The main character, Mitsumi, I think, yeah, Mitsumi, she was just kind of like, she's a part of like the school council.
The student council?
Student council,
yeah.
And so she's basically just like trying to make things like run and like helping her classmates. But she's just doing a lot. I think she just kind of ends up doing more than she can handle. To the point where I think she got to a meeting late, or she didn't get to watch the movie that they were talking about. So that like hindered her a little bit. And then with Shima, he is holding the fact that was an actor a secret, but he's actually in his class's school play.
How do you feel about festival volumes? Do you like them?
I think they're overdone, but I think this one was done like extremely well, just because I feel like in shoujos it's always the same.
Yeah.
But this, we actually have like character development and like friendship and feeling development with some of the characters, so it's like, I think it was done really well.
You rarely see them put on a play, so it actually tied into his struggles, and I thought that was interesting.
Right, and you saw her do like a lot of stuff behind the scenes too. I feel like this manga does a really good job of not focusing on the romance like too much. Like, it's a shoujo, is it? It's a rom-com,
so.
but
Yeah.
like it doesn't like overly focus on romance like the show, like that. For shoujos, most shoujos, that's like the main focus, but like
The end goal.
the end goal. But this, I feel like, is more about like the individual characters as well, and them growing as people. So it was actually a really good volume.
That's what I really like about this series so far too, is if you're not usually a shoujo reader or you don't read romances in general, there's still a lot of things that are enjoyable about this. And I like how, like you said, it doesn't just focus on the romance. A lot of the book has to do with developing friendships especially with Mitsumi moving to a new school. She's basically starting from scratch. And then how the school system in Japan works, most people don't know when they move up to high school, they're not going to know necessarily the people who are going to that school. It's not like the middle school, the people from middle school automatically all funnel into the same high school. So then there's a lot of dynamics with the friend group that I find really interesting.
Yeah. And it really focuses on like the friendships themselves too, not just like the individual characters or the relationships, but like you see a lot of the different like characters with different popularities like coming together too and stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. The characters are really three-dimensional. No one's just like the tropey friend, which can be funny at times, but it gets a little old.
It gets old. Well, I feel like in this manga they introduce characters as like tropey characters, but then it like strays away and just shows like these characters aren't just tropes. They're like people.
They seem like real people that you would meet.
Right.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And when I first heard how popular this was, and so, you know, I looked up like the premise, and it seems like a premise that's been done a lot, like that fish out of water story. And so this really shows you that you don't need some crazy plot or premise to get a really good story going, as long as you really care about the characters and the story you're trying to tell. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just have to do it well. And so I think this is a series that anyone can jump into and find enjoyment in. You can share your favorite panel of this volume.
Yeah, so I think it's this one. I really love this panel. It's Shima, one of the two main characters, pretty much. He's like in the middle of the play, but he has like so many thoughts going on about like the different friends that he's been interacting with, and like how they're always like striving for like more, and they're always having fun like doing it. But he's been having like so many struggles, like pretty much like running away from his own like feelings and emotions. But then here he like kind of realizes that he's actually like pretty jealous of like all the people that are like striving for something that are like around him. And so he's always been doing stuff for other people. He never really does anything for himself. Anything that he's ever like strived for has been for like his mom or like his friends. But I feel like he realizes that if he just like takes a little bit of time to like think about like what he wants to do, then he can like also have these feelings that other people are showing as well. And he's always like running away from like his feelings and emotions, and he's always like skipping school and stuff. So no, I think this was like a really powerful part of this volume.
Love that panel. And I love the way the mangaka, I think this is written by a woman, when she draws him like contemplating thoughts, you can really see him having that inner conflict in his head, but you just see it as a panel with no words. And I think that really shows you how good of an artist this mangaka is.
And it's also like a really good contrast because he's always like drawn as like a laid back, no worry type of guy. So it's even more powerful when it's like you see a panel like that, because he's not usually like that. So.
And you have to infer a lot about the character's feelings, and I think that creates another layer, like so something might be going on in a scene, but what are they actually thinking? What are they actually feeling? I like that a lot. And I'm wondering now with his model friend or his ex-friend, like this kind of weird relationship they have, how her character is going to develop as well.
Right.
I was kind of surprised. She like went all out on his mom.
I know.
And she was like, is he acting for you again?
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I like this panel too.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Was
I like this friend.
I like him
a
too.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. So I have my favorite and then a quick honorable mention. So the friendship that I'm really interested in, and I hope they continue to explore it further, are between these girls here. In volume 1, it was mostly, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but the student here, she was really wary of this other student because Murashige, and do you remember her name?
No.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, there's a lot of characters. But she was wary of her because in the past she hasn't gotten along with people who were considered popular, and then she kind of wrongly assumed that they wouldn't have any of the same interests or they would have nothing to talk about. So again, going back to like the three-dimensionality of characters, I like how even your assumptions about someone are not always going to be true, and the manga really explores that. So I like the scene where she's introducing her friends from middle school, and they also seem wary of her, but she tries to get them to realize how great of a friend she is. So I'm really excited to see how that develops. And then the other scene I really liked, because this was one of the conflicts in the school festivals. His little brother comes and he gets lost. And there's been this whole conflict about how Shima isn't sure if his little brother actually likes him or not. And this shows that he does, obviously. He's like 3 years old. He thinks of him as a brother.
Yeah, and there was this one scene before where he didn't know if he like wanted to give his brother like that keychain or whatever it was.
From volume 3.
From volume 3,
Yeah.
and then he was like, well, I don't know if he'd actually like this. But then he saw it like on his backpack, so it shows like he really looks up to him, you know. So
Exactly, yeah. And I'm hoping we learn more about that.
yeah.
His relationship with his mom, kind of. I mean, we don't know too much about his mom yet, but the whole like acting backstory kind of reminds me of like Showa Shoten.
Yeah. It does, yeah.
Yeah. It's been really good though. I mean, it was really hyped up, but it's delivered. And I'm excited to continue this series.
Yeah.
I know it's on hiatus now, but
Yeah, hopefully soon it'll come back.
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Because we'll probably catch up to this pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a quick read, like a really quick read.
Yeah, trigger warning though, it's like really gritty. Nasty.
It is. And I like how they draw Mitsumi. I think that's a bold choice to really like simplify, like especially in shoujos, they always draw the female protagonists like really detailed,
right.
You know, with a certain look. But I think she looks really cute like that.
Yeah.
I like it.
And I do really like some of the jokes, the country bumpkin jokes where she's like, whoa, Nelly. And like, you know, not everyone kind of like finds it funny, but.
Oh no, I like that too.
Those
the
little
humor
things
is really
are,
nice.
yeah, the humor is pretty good too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and then last thing about that I wanted to mention, I do really like the humor, and I like, I think it's cool that she's from this seaside town where she graduated with only like a handful of students in her class. But I also like, what I was kind of worried about knowing the premise was that it would be one of those books where they're kind of like making fun of the small town bumpkin girl, like she has no idea. But I like how even though the comedy is still there, it shows that her straightforwardness is actually like a huge asset, even if she's not always gonna fit in with everybody or be accepted right away. it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, do you want to do recommendations?
Oh, sure. I mean, we kind of already talked about if you like shoujos in general, then obviously you're going to like this. But even if you're not into romances, like we said, I'm not really the type to read a lot of high school setting stories. But I do think this feels really fresh, and you do learn to care about the characters, or grow to care about the characters. So do you want to talk about like specifics, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, there are some other rom-coms out there like Blue Flag. I feel like I've seen people talk about it, but not like a whole lot. That's probably one of the more lesser known ones. My Love Story is also a really good one that does a good job of not only focusing on like the romance, but also like the friendships within the story as well. It also has like it's like really funny. And then also Kimi ni Todoke. I know a lot of people talk about it. I feel like it's a lot of people's favorites, but that also goes hand in hand with like the friendships. They talk a lot about that as well. And a lot about like popularity type stuff. Like it doesn't really matter if you're popular or not, so.
I'm excited to see like when the romance actually ramps up too, because she has
realized
feelings, and she realized, but she's trying to keep it deep down. And then I don't know. Do you feel like Shima at this point has romantic feelings?
I don't think if he does, I don't think he's realized it. But on the other hand, he's also told her that she's his first like actual friend that is a girl. So I feel like that could definitely bloom into something.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see.
Yeah. I think he'll get more into acting and stuff, maybe. That's my prediction for him. I think I don't know, is just gonna do what she does. And then I feel like maybe they will eventually get together, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
For future volumes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, awesome.
All right, on to like the next like really amazing like romance shoujo.
Okay, palate cleanser.
Like palate cleanser. This is like a breath of fresh air.
After this.
Like, just wait.
There it is.
There it is. So we picked up the first deluxe edition of Killing Stalking. I don't really know what to say about this. It's disclaimer, there's like a lot of trigger warnings and just like...
Yeah, please look them up. The trigger warnings before you get into this. And we're not going to be... I didn't pick like a favorite panel in this. We're not going to be showing the inside just because it's a lot. But yeah, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something? I guess the reason I was actually the one that was interested in this, it's one of those things where, do you ever hear a book is so gruesome that you kind of want to see if like you'll be able to get through it, like in the same sense that you watch maybe like a slasher movie or like a horror movie that everyone is talking about how brutal it is. So that's it was a morbid curiosity. That's the word I'm looking for. So I went into this with morbid curiosity, and I guess an open mind, because I know that a lot of people did not enjoy it. And then after reading it, I don't think I will be continuing, and not because, so any book that we drop or any series that we drop, we're not saying that it's a bad series or that no one is going to find enjoyment in it. It was just not, even as a fan of horror in general, it just wasn't, it was a little much.
Yeah.
For me. How did you feel about it?
How did I feel about it? I think it was interesting to read. I think the ideas that this person came up with, I don't know how they came up with it, but it was kind of like interesting to see in like a fiction type world. Like obviously this should never happen, but like I mean it was still interesting to read, I guess. And it still does, like, for some reason, like pique my interest because I want to know like what happens.
You want to know
Not because I want to see like any of like the weird fucking scenes, but
you kind of just want to know like how the protagonist Yoon-bum like gets out of this situation that he's in. Yeah. But the premise is kind of what piqued my interest as well. The fact that so the protagonist like is a stalker, and he's stalking this guy Song-woo. I hope I'm saying these right. But he is basically in love with him, and so through like years of stalking him, basically he finds out where he lives, and then it deduced his house code because he's been like watching him, right?
He put like that powder on the keypad so that he could
right.
see what numbers he was pressing. So he got inside of his house. Yeah, and then it just escalated from there.
And there's the whole plot twist because obviously he thinks Song-woo is this hero, this nice guy. He was really charismatic in college, so obviously he doesn't expect being like confined in his house. I wish there were some scenes that showed him being this like heroic guy, but I think the reveal would have been stronger if we got a few more scenes and saw a little bit about who he was before we found out that he's this crazed guy.
Yeah. So basically it's just like watching a whole lot of these tortures and stuff like that. There was one point where he almost like escaped the house, but Song-woo was just like sitting out there. Yoon-bum like started like yelling for help, and then Song-woo was like, there's no one in this, like this is a rundown neighborhood, there's no one's gonna like hear you scream. That was kind of like, how? Especially since like one of the first scenes of the story, he almost got caught like breaking into this house by a couple of like policemen. So like there's no one like else around here.
Like no one?
Just that one moment you like almost got caught. There were like people around here. But yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm wondering, I mean, I won't be continuing with the series, but you still have questions, you know? Like, right. I wonder if, so like the police officers who saw him trying to break in, one of them is really suspicious about Song-woo because his parents had gotten murdered, and he's the one who did it, but the police don't know that. So I'm wondering if they opened some sort of investigation or how he's able to continue this act, because he, at the end of this, Song-woo made the protagonist basically kill this other guy that he found. So it makes you wonder how this, the mangaka is, what is it called when they write manhwa? Manhwaka? Wait, no, that's not it. That's not it. It makes you wonder how they're gonna keep ramping it up. Like, is Yoon-bum gonna have to kill more people? What is in store for him? Because it's pretty long, considering it's a deluxe edition. I know there's at least 10 volumes, if not a little more.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know. If you are someone who's read the series and enjoyed it, let us know what you liked about it. Like I said, I'm not saying it's bad or it's not for anyone. It just wasn't for us. That's it. But we're glad we tried. That's why we got these things at the library.
Right.
Try them out. kind of wild that they have this at the library, though, unwrapped and everything.
I know. It's like, I wonder how the romance is going to unravel. So, yeah, I think that's it for this video.
Let us know your thoughts on any of the other volumes, too.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've read any of these, then let us know, like, what your thoughts on our opinions are. So.
And we'll keep, I mean, we're, like Snepkin said, we do go to the library pretty often. This was a smaller haul, so if we do get a bigger haul, we'll do, each book will introduce a little bit shorter. But yeah, I hope you liked our little book club.
Yeah.
Book club.
So yeah, if you enjoyed this, you want to see more of this, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.
All right, thank you.